This week's video was going to be about Bruce Almighty, a show and tell, work done so far, what I've still got to do. But unfortunately it's turned into something else. I've had a bit of a disaster. So if you watch on, you'll see it all unfold. I've neglected Bruce Almighty. Because of the winters we get here, there's not a lot of work takes place on Land Rovers for a good couple of months. It's either too wet, too much snow, too much ice, too much wind, or just too darn cold. That has caused two major problems with this. I left Bruce's batteries connected and they've drained right down, and there's two of them. There's one here and one over here. One of them's brand new. I think this one's from a previous vehicle, but you know, still in good shape. But that took a hell of a lot of charging to try and get it back to 12 volts. And I was able to put a battery tester on it, and it will take a load, so it's okay. That one charged up okay. But the big problem I've got here is the engine. Now, we had a couple of very cold nights at the start of January, probably -12, -14 centigrade. I always make sure my vehicles have got plenty of coolant in them, but when I went to start Bruce a couple of weeks later, major problem. Turned over fine, but would not start, and I smelt diesel, and I'll show you where it was coming from. This is a 200 TDI engine, okay, so it's a 4-cylinder turbocharged and intercooled diesel. Basic, bomb-proof, completely mechanical fuel injection pump. No electronics. However, I think some water had been inside the injection pump because the cover had split, and that's where the diesel was coming out from. And it's something I'd never really considered. The water had frozen, expanded, and split the cover. So I tried to repair it just to see if I could get it working as a sort of temporary thing, and that didn't work. And then I did some reading on the internet. Now, these are a Bosch VE fuel injection pump. Same pump as is on a 300 TDI diesel engine, and it's the 300 TDI that's in the 110 Reg. I also happen to have a spare 300 TDI I got very cheaply. Sitting in my shed here. Well, this is my spares department. So I thought, okay, I'll take the cover off of that and I'll whack it on the 200 TDI. Getting the cover off was a major problem, but it was an excuse to go and buy some tools. So I managed to find a tiny little socket set on Amazon, which is absolutely perfect. I'm going to use it for loads of stuff because this needed a Torx. So there's the little socket wrench there. You can just see it's absolutely tiny, and the little Torx wrench socket just goes into it. So that allowed me to get the cover off the other one. Then I found out the cover is entirely different, and the internals are even more different. So let me show you. So on the right here we have the original cover, and if I pick it up and show you, I don't know if you could pick that out, but it's got several cracks in it where it burst. So my bodge repair was to use chemical metal and a couple of washers to strengthen it, and then run super glue down the cracks. I then polished it on the flat surface of my anvil to get a uniform finish. And to be fair, I've torqued it down and it's not split again. However, it is still leaking. And we can see that the new, well, the cover off the 300 TDI engine is a lot deeper, and it's got a little plunger inside of it. Also, when we then start to look at the springs, you can see that I've got a shim here on the 200 TDI one and a single spring. This one has got a wide shim, two smaller shims, and two springs, one which goes inside the other, and also a bottom plate and a plunger. So it's entirely different. And that isn't a part that you can buy, this thing. The choice is to, you know, get an exchange injection pump, buy a new injection pump, try and find a second-hand engine, etc, etc, and it was getting me down. This is a week I've been working on this. However, I eventually thought, let's try and measure using a set of calipers, set of vernier calipers, how much spring sticks below the cover on this one, the broken one, and see if we can use the original spring on the new cover and get it to stick down the same depth. So I will show you how I did that now. This is the original cover with the shim and the original spring, and without any tension or compression on the spring, we're looking at about 32.5 mil from the face of the cover to the bottom of the spring. So my thought is, if I can make this plus this equal 32 mil, and you can see at the moment it's well short of that, then I'm keeping the original spring rate with a nice cover that's not knackered. Four washers and the original shim, and we are bang on. £31.5. So I'm going to put this new cover on the 300 TDI with original spring, and I'm guessing I'm going to be using the original bolts, because the bolts off the 300 TDI are about 5 mil longer as well, just to make things more complicated. And we'll see how we get on. Okay, that's these nipped up, and because the Land Rover is such a basic engine, it still has a manual fuel lift pump. Well, it's driven off the camshaft, but I can manually prime it. The cranking will eventually normally get diesel up to the injectors, but if I give it a few pumps on this, it's going to give it a head start and get air out the system. Moment of truth. Okay, not starting, but is not leaking diesel, so that is progress. So we're going to see if we're getting fuel to the filter by cracking that off, then see if we're getting fuel to the pump. Let's check the starter solenoid is working, because there's a fuel pump solenoid on here. I can hear it clicking. I put the contact on it, and ultimately we need to check and see if we're getting fuel at the injectors. Plenty of fuel coming out there. Crack off an injector. And we're not getting fuel up there. Okay, I think I've killed the battery now. Time to bring in the big guns. That was the starting on easy start. I think I'm going to have to change this injection pump. Woe is me. The plot thickens. Excuse the noise, the wife's scarifying the grass. I took the fuel filter out because I undid the drain and there was a lot of water in it, and then when I took the fuel filter out, it was actually quite milky, so there's definitely water in the diesel. Now that's obviously what's contributed to the pump, something gone crack in the pump. So I'm going to put a new fuel filter in, so I've got a few in stock. I actually need to drain the tank really and see what's in it. But then that's not stopping the fact I've not got fuel or liquid coming up to the injectors. But it's certainly contributed to the root cause of the problem. So I'm going to do that, but I seriously think I'm going to have to change the injector pump. So let's get this fitted, drain the tank, see what we've got, and then maybe you can help me decide what to do next. Thankfully the fuel tank is easy to access on this. I will go into the reason for it being where it is later. And I've got this little fuel transfer pump here, powered off a 12-volt battery. So we'll get that down there. Clear the top to start with, just to see what we get out. It looks like diesel to me. If there's any water, it should be at the bottom, shouldn't it? Because oil floats on water. I've sucked 20 litres out of that. I know that because I've filled a jerry can, and I think we're getting near the bottom now because I don't remember putting much more than 20 in it. But look at this. It doesn't look so good, does it? I'm going to leave that there, come back and see what it looks like in 20 minutes time. Well, it's 24 hours later now, and I'm filming this just as a quickie to finish this off on my phone. So apologies if there is any wind noise because it's a little bit breezy. So if you look at the gunk here, there's not really much happened to it. It's just a horrible emulsion of diesel and water. So short of getting an exchange pump or taking the one off that 300 TDI engine, the only thing I can think I might be able to do is try and flush it in case my pump is all gunked up with all that rubbish. So maybe petrol or a solvent. I know that they need diesel to lubricate them, but I'm thinking if I flushed it with something like petrol, with a bit of air pressure or something, it might just clear all the crap out, and then I could get diesel straight back in it to save ruining the seals and all the other bits and pieces inside there. So that's it. I'm going to leave that video here. Not sure what I'm going to do. Open to suggestions, and if you've experienced this, let me know. And the next video is going to be something different, and then I really need to get back to this. Bruce Almighty. Cheers.